Hi, and welcome to a session of sanitizing my alrules.json files. Hey, I'm Eric, and I apologize for the lack of retro computers behind me. Had an issue with some water that came into the house where it shouldn't come. So I'm sitting here in something that more resembles a construction yard than anything else. Somebody said a bunker earlier today, but okay. Anyway, so I was looking at my latest little adventure in building a compiler, and I thought maybe it's time to turn on the code analysis, the different code analyzers, and then as soon as you do that, the question comes. So what rules are valid and what rules are not valid? So what I did is basically that let me show you. Let's switch over to this. Here is Visual Studio Code already. But here's actually Notepad. How about that? And now you can zoom in Notepad also. So that's pretty cool. But I just kind of grabbed all the rules that was sitting in different projects on my machine. And some of them are... some project has lots of rules and some projects only have 2. So I thought, let me make my list of what rules I would like to ignore, because that's basically what it's all about. But I thought, let's make that a video so you can follow along and figure out if these rules are some that you think that applies to what you're doing and you would like these rules, or if you agree with me. And let me know in the comments below if you disagree or you agree, or there is something that you think I should do different. So we can see here now that I just turned on code analysis on the BC Script project, and the way you do that is simply by, in the setting.json file, that's part of, let's make this readable. That's sitting in the VS Code folder. You turn on code, specify code analyzers in this statement, and then you enable it. And then you can specify a rule set that will impact what rules are working. And I actually had a fun thing, as anybody from Microsoft is watching. If you have an empty rules.json, then that seems to mess up the compiler, deciding that there are no issues. But I'll investigate that at some point. And just to give you guys a status of what we're, let's see if this one is current. Let's count. Here, that was not the counter. Let's count. Oh, that was the counter. Yeah, that's fine. So we have 4,571 lines of AL code. Ignore the JSON code here. The JSON code is just because I have the ACE editor as part of this. I'll do the video on that at some point. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to see how we get the ACE editor, the code editor, the syntax highlighting editor into Business Central. So we have 4,500 lines of AL code, and some comments and some blanks, and that's fine. So 4,500 lines of code. That's what we're working with, and I can see that I get 283 problems. They are all, and this one says 240 down here. You can really see that. Oh, this 43 are warnings, so that's okay. So, but the project compiles, so there are no errors at this point. And the first error, we can see that the source editor.al has an incorrect name. The valid name is source editor.controladdin.al. I disagree with that. very much. In fact, I prefer to name my files what makes sense for me. And in this case, so I actually already added that one. So AA215, that's okay. I don't need Microsoft to dictate file name rules. And we have that a lot. Then only use begin end to enclose compound statements. Let's see where I do that. I do that because I have a begin end here around something. And yeah, I agree with this rule. I should fix this. I should remove these because that is not valid. So now I have 6 lines of AL code less. So that's okay. Unused variable. Well, unused variable, that's fine. Unused variable, that's fine. I should fix that. Variable declaration should be ordered by type. Variables should be sorted like this: record, report, code unique, XML port, page, query, notification, big text, date, formula, record ID, record ref, field ref, and filter page builder. The rest of the variables are not sorted. That I see where they're going with this rule, but again, it's at least the rule as it is incomplete because it doesn't care about key refs, for instance. So I am going to, and you can't see that because that's behind my big head right there. So this is AA0021. I will add that. So this one, AA0021, don't need sorted variables. Okay, let's carry on. Begin end. I've done that a lot. I think these are case statements where I were in doubt how much were going to happen inside them, so I just kind of begin ended them all. Unused, begin end, unused. So all this is good. Unused. Variable declaration order, that's the number of parameters passed to a string must match the placeholders. So that's a valid rule. That's a totally valid rule. So that was a bug. So score one for the code analyzers. That was a real bug. Unused variable. Parameter identifiers declared by reference but never changed in method record functions. So I shouldn't var transfer. That's a valid rule also for me. Begin end. We seem to have a bit of a theme here. It's pretty much the same things that goes on. So you see, guys, I seem to make the same kind of box. Here's another one. This is fun. The name of fr is not valid. The name of variables and parameters must be suffixed with the type or object. Let's see or object name. Well, I kind of like a variable called fr for field ref. I think that's okay. So the AA0072 goes into another one of, there's a theme here. Don't dictate stuff, I guess. Let's paste it up here. AA072. Variable names. So again, we're in strongly typed language, and we got IntelliSense and all sort of stuff. We really don't need, in my book, need to have variables that are prefixed with the type and stuff like that. So that one is out also. And you can see that that's a bunch of that. There's a bunch of that. And then more files are wrong, and the name of variables are wrong. The order. So we seem to, I think we have. Oh, here's a fun one. The name of the local variable underscore start is identical to a global variable. Yeah. So that's actually that's a bug. So good catch, analyzes. Yeah. Let's see what else we have. You must specify open and close parentheses after current. So current is a function, so that's okay. This is fine. The variable zeroChar is initialized but not used. Yeah, that's right. So that's a valid rule. More parentheses, and more stuff that's used. Again, this is clearly I need to do some cleanup in this is the Lexer, and I was kind of copy pasting functions, and that's what happens, that we have at some point I probably needed these, so the zeroChar, the new line, the character return, and no, I need the character return, and I need new line, but I clearly do not need zeroChar, so I can get rid of that one, and I don't need tabchar because and even done is just so that was score 1 for the rules, against score 2, score how many I don't keep track. Let's see, it's pretty much the same. The local method next is declared but never used. Yeah, that's probably right. So that's a fair rule also. Let's see what else we have. Here it's the same. Unused, begin, end. In a minute we need to look at all the rules I collected. The repeat until, that's all the file naming. So as there are little to none UI reports, anything that this one is, the project is very alike. It does a lot of code, but it all looks the same. So I think here's another one that a label has to be named, has a suffix saying what kind of label it is. Yeah, that might be. I'll 74. I'm not sure about that. Do we want to tell what kind of label it is? Well, in this case, this is a so actually the rule is breaking here, because you can. This is a message, a token, an arrow, a question, a label, or text. And text is, I guess that's a catch-all. So I think that AA0072 should probably just be ignored, because again, that's just dictating stuff. stop dictating stuff. Let's call it label names. And I think we're at the end of this one. So as you can see, I got some work to do here to clean this project up. But it's pretty much the same. Like, see, there's like variable t is unused because I probably copied some code and then you figure out that I didn't need all the code, but I never cleaned the variables. So I should do that, definitely do that. And let's see, that's it. So let's take a look at the rules that I had. So, and we probably need to, let me just grab a browser here. Let's just grab a browser here. The local record should be modified before saving. So I know that the blind writes error here saying that the local record should be modified before saving to the database. This rule never worked for me, so I'm gonna include this again as a non-working. So AA0214. Where is my rule set? Here is my rule set. And AA217, let's check that one out. Use a text constant or label for format string in a string substring. Well, that's all good unless you're actually doing that dynamically. So I think that's valid. And let's just see if the AA210, that's another one I have flagged. Avoid non-index fields into filtering. Well, I appreciate the effort, Microsoft, but sometimes you have to filter on a non-indexed field. So those rules are kind of just noise in my book. So let's look at this. So we had those, I think, variables. Let's see if there's anything more. So the problem with this is that, and why I wanted to do this cleanup is that I just realized that I had like 10 different versions of alrules sitting around in multiple projects, and I really would like to just create one master. So here in this, here's one where we have, let me make sure that this is as big so you guys can see it. AA0218 saying no tooltips, and that one, yeah, it's annoying, but it's also kind of necessary to create apps that are good. So you should add tooltips, at least then just, you know, add the field name again as a tooltip or something like that. So I think this is probably a customer project this one came out of, and what we can do. So let me show you what we can do with this, which is actually saying that, okay, so let's see if I can get this to behave. Maybe I can. Do we only have the hidden option? Okay, in that case, forget I ever said anything. Let's just ignore it for now. So AA417, let's see what that is. Oh, hang on, there you go. Placeholders should have a comment explaining their purpose or the content. So this is the case where you have something with let me go back to this one and pretend that in this case we had a label with a %1. Then we would add the comment equals saying %1 is something. And why would we want this? This is mainly if you're in a scenario where you have translators, because it's kind of important for somebody who needs to translate the label into another language that they understand the content of what it is that you're inserting into the string. So if you are dealing with translators, you should keep the AA 417 because that one is important. But if you're not dealing with translators or anything in that, let me put I'm typing behind my translators. Otherwise, yeah, you can just ignore those rules. Here's another one, AL 603. Let's see what that is. Conversion between option and enum, and that will be an error in the future, so we might as well deal with that. So we'll not keep that one. Then we have PTE 0004. Table definition must have a matching, this is per tenant, matching permission set. At some point not working, we'll ignore that. Let's see what else we had. I think we are pretty much through this. That's all the dictate. Yeah, that's, I think. Here's one I say my comment has been will fix later for version 18. So what is this? This is one warning saying that the implicit with. I'm never using with, so I think it's fine if that's actually in the code. Let's make sure that it's fixed. So we'll keep that one. I think that's about it. Yeah, here's another one. That's from the tic-tac-toe where we're inserting blob fields on a page, and that's the only way we can do. We cannot do with media as what we can do with blobs. So I'm okay with just ignoring that. We're using blobs. Try to stop us. That was from the tic-tac-toe game. If you haven't seen that video, go find it. And I think that was it. So I need to sort these at some point because that's pretty nice. But I think this is going to be my new alrules master file, and I'm gonna put that in all projects that has code analyzers. And I think the message here is that so should you, meaning that, as you can see with this project, I had 200 plus warnings, and some of them are valid, some of them are not valid. And I think if you don't apply this, your noise to signal to noise ratio will be terrible, and you won't actually see the important ones, like the ones. I found a bug. They were missing a percentage in an error message, and there were some local variables that had the same name as a global variable, and that might be a bug, and it might be the intended functionality, but in that case, I would need to change the name so I won't have this issue. So I will put this rule file in the blog post that on hogart.com, so you can go use it. But I would really love to hear what rules you guys are excluding, and what rules, if some of them that I exclude, that if you think I'm mad that I should keep those. And then until next time, have a wonderful day.